bonjour, and welcome to WT France, the podcast in which we explain WTF happened in French politics in the last 7 days. I'm your co-host Juliette.
And I am Pepijn. So we are recording this with the TV on mute because my new hero, Léon Marchand, as we all know, the swimmer guy, he's gonna swim in the, not entirely sure, I think the 4 times 100 meters relay. And then he'll win his 5th or 6th gold. And can he do it?
I think Léon Marchand can do anything. He has even managed to make all of France happy. And that's a very hard thing to do. He is like the new hero. Anyway, he can do anything.
The thing is, Juliette, I didn't know he existed a week ago. And I barely knew competitive sports or swimming at least existed until 5 days ago. So, now I'm wondering if he should go to the next World Championship, if he should go there. Like, he's a miracle worker. He's like a special cat.
Yeah. Hey, I have an idea. Maybe he could be our next prime minister.
Well, what I assume is that would mean he's replacing the current new prime minister that you already have, right? Right?
We do not have a new prime minister.
Okay, maybe...
Should we start with that?
Maybe we... So, let's ask again, Juliette. 3rd or 4th time in a row. So, what's up with that new prime minister?
So, there is still nothing new on the prime minister front. Macron is sticking to his guns so far. He still has not named a prime minister, even though the constitution says he should be. He has not even talked to Lucie Castet, the woman put forward by the Nouveau Front Populaire last week.
Yep.
And in fact, he hasn't even said her name in public, at least.
In public. I was going to say, I bet he said her name in a non-public setting. So, I saw him on TV. But otherwise, what has he been doing?
He's been on holiday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
By train?
He took off. We'll get to that. He took off to one of the official presidential retreats in the Var. That's on the French Riviera. And he's been going back and forth from there to Paris to enjoy some Olympic events too.
Wow. So you have the Olympics, you have a country in a political... I guess it's a political crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to a summer cabin. I bet it has a swimming pool.
Well, no, he's not at the swimming pool, actually. He's been sailing.
That's nice.
It is kind of nice.
That's nice. And then he went on a TGV to watch some sports.
No, he's not taking the TGV. He's actually taking a private plane.
That seems like a massive waste of money. A part of the environmental thing where,
we could do a whole episode about the environmental thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big waste of money. Macron is a big spender, actually, at least for his own entertainment. He likes to cut expenses for everyone else. But that's actually one of the big stories from this week.
Cool.
The Cour des Comptes. The Cour des Comptes is a high-level institution that looks at government spending. Anyway, they do regular reviews of different government bodies and how they've been spending money and have they been spending it wisely. And they have published a report this week highlighting that the budget of the presidency is massively overspent by 8.3 million euro in 2023. The presidency has spent a total of 125 million euro in 2023.
What is that spend? What is he spending it on?
So there's normal expenses.
The boat hire for the sailing?
Well, there's... Is that a normal expense? God, I wish it was normal expense.
I rented a boat once.
Job. How much did that cost you?
I think it was 78 euro, but then per day. But you also think at 12.50 euro for the outboard engine.
Yeah, I think Macron's boats are more expensive.
Yeah.
So a few things that are causing the overspend, because there's normal regular expenses, like it does cost money to run the country, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been going overboard on a few things, especially some very fancy receptions for very high-level dignitaries. So, for instance, he rented the Louvre Museum for a dinner when the Indian Prime Minister Rajendra Modi came to visit. He also rented the Versailles Palace for King Charles when he came to visit. And these are very expensive places, and he doesn't get them for free just because he's president. And each time they're serving dinner for hundreds of high-level guests, and the catering has to be top-notch. So just the dinner with King Charles, for instance, cost 475,000 euro.
Well, wait, dinner.
Dinner.
€500,000 dinner.
Yeah. Like they hired multiple 3-star Michelin chefs for the night. They invited a bunch of very rich and or very influential people like the CEO of LVMH, Bernard Arnault, who's also the third richest person on the planet, like just to impress King Charles.
Let's go back. LVMH, that's the
Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, luxury brand conglomerate.
The little handbags.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, more than just handbags. But
and these people didn't pay. They were there to basically be decor, but also, weirdly enough, influence. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
I'd be a bit nervous if I was a monarch invited to Versailles to dine in opulence.
Yeah, you'd think.
Maybe they did a history tour.
Yeah. So anyway, he spent like a lot of money. There's other things that the Cour des Comptes has pointed out, for instance, like cancellations. Like there would be an even plan and then it's cancelled at the last minute, but deposits have been spent, for instance, and you just throw away money. So yeah, he's been spending money, wasting money, which is very ironic because he keeps like calling out the left for like being not careful enough with how they plan to spend money in their program, and he is one of the biggest money wasters, and he's been called out by an independent institution for this. So yeah, the Versailles thing, like you'd think maybe the opening ceremony's revolution tableau has reminded everyone of what France is capable of, but we'll see.
Yeah, chop chop. Chop. Super dinner. Speaking of the Olympics, because basically I think this week, just like last week, a big part of the politics of France are the Olympics. So I've been getting quite annoyed at the reactions to the opening ceremony, and I'm not the only one, of course. Like most people that I consider nice people have been. We talked about it last week, but the topic kept on coming up. Can I talk about it for a little bit?
Yeah.
Or at least say, yeah.
Yeah, you followed this one quite closely, so maybe I'll do the questions this time. So, like, who do you think was the most annoyed by the opening ceremony in the end?
I think there's no individual person. Actually, there is some that I can think of, but then it's just, let's not mention these people by name. But I think as groups, it seems to be Catholics and I guess a good way of describing them, a subset of political conservative people who identify, and that's their choice, who identify as Christians.
Yeah.
They were looking for some kind of official apology, but I think the best they got was, we think we did really great, actually, and we are so sorry that you think your feelings got hurt.
Yeah.
I think that's actually about it. Maybe there isn't that much more to talk about this.
Well, there is, unfortunately, because this outrage created a lot of damage. The many artists featured in the opening ceremony have been getting death threats and rape threats. Like Barbara Butch, she's the DJ featured in that scene that everyone is outraged about. She has reported threats that she received to the police. There's another artist in that scene who was called a pedophile for it by Laurence Fox. Does that name sound familiar, Laurence Fox?
Weirdly enough, I'm thinking of Lawrence of Arabia, but that's probably not it. I know. Should it sound familiar?
So I'll give you a clue. He is an actor in one of our favorite TV shows, turned right-wing activist / politician. Does that help?
I just hope it's not Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise, but I would be quite surprised.
No, I think if it was your hero, I would just not tell you ever.
Okay.
Inspector Lewis's sidekick, James Hathaway.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him. I
Oh,
know. I was so disappointed when I realized because
he was such a nice little copper.
Yeah, he was such a nice character. Anyway, he's been quite awful, but he's actually in trouble now because there's going to be an inquiry into his remarks for defamation. So one of the people he called a pedophile went like, you know what? No. I'm used to being criticized as a drag queen. We get lots of different remarks, but I'm not going to stand for this one.
I think the fallout from this is just ridiculous. I expected something. I expected because there's always something. We live in a society, and I don't think that's new. We just have a bad memory for it. We live in a society where there's always some people outraged about something. It helps if you can link into a big event, and it's in this case about diversity. I just didn't expect it to be so many people. How do people in France, like as a not the extremes, but like the general population, what's the vibe in France about this?
Honestly, overwhelmingly, people are very proud of both the ceremony and how the Olympics are going. And it's been a very good surprise. There's been polls done, and ahead of the Olympics, people were very pessimistic, but the polls are saying like the word that comes through over and over again is proud. Like people have found new pride in how this is going.
Okay.
The ceremony was the most French thing I have ever seen. And the locations chosen for the various sports are also really showing Paris and France at their best. Like obviously the beautiful locations in Paris, like the beach volley done like with the view on the Eiffel Tower, the fencing in the Grand Palais with that beautiful ceiling, but also going like, you know what, we'll do the surfing in Tahiti. And like it's really showing the best of France. And people are feeling really, really good about these Olympics, aside, of course, from that small, very religiously conservative part of the country that's been so loud. But they're really a small minority. I can't emphasize this enough. Like most people are super happy.
So what basically last podcast we recorded last Saturday, day after the opening ceremony, there was that vibe, and this vibe has only gotten stronger then, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's very strong.
Is all of this distracting people from, because of course we should remember, first of all, this podcast is about the politics of France, but also France until 2 weeks ago was about the politics of France.
Yeah.
Is this a distraction for a lot of people?
Yeah, it definitely is. It seems like 90% of what people talk about is the Olympics. Like there's some other stories that break through, like this week, like there was attention put on the assassination organized by Israel against the leader of Hamas. There are like news about the US election coming through. But frankly, the prime minister chaos seems to have disappeared from everyone's radar.
Well, I guess that helps certain groups,
Yeah,
or is that, yeah,
like right now, it seems
yeah.
to be working out massively in Macron's favor. He's delayed and delayed and delayed until the Olympics, and now he bought himself an extra 2 weeks.
And
But
sailing,
and he's sailing, and then he's
yeah.
going to like all of the events, and I'm guessing he can just say wherever he wants to go, he gets in. Good for him. Anyway, but at the same time,
Like a king.
you've got Lucie Castet, the
Oh yeah,
candidate for prime minister. She is taking this time to tour France to do interviews and to just get people to know her better, because she was completely unknown until like 10 days ago. And her profile is really rising. So I wonder also if by the time the Olympic bubble bursts, maybe she will have achieved just enough fame that Macron won't be able to brush her aside anymore.
so okay, that's so she is in the background doing, I guess, capacity building, and she's not just visiting Olympic games.
No, she's not. Actually, I read an article in Le Monde, and her summer plans were to go like in Tuscany and have spritz on a terrace in the sun, which is a great summer holiday. From personal experience, we have done that.
Yeah, it was great.
I highly recommend it. And I'm very impressed that she decided to cancel that to go in this mess.
I really loved the holiday we did in Tuscany. There was spritz, which I really liked. There were tons of cats, which I really liked. And I think this podcast should be sponsored by a combination of spritz and cats.
And the sun and beach.
Yeah, let's skip those.
Okay.
But yeah. Let's continue. I am still fascinated by something else. The story of the right-wing party Les Républicains. They split up over the election. This was the guy that locked himself in the building. Turns out the other people also had keys. Where are they at? Is the guy still in the building? I guess not.
No, he left the building, or at least he's home now. They have not sorted themselves out. The leadership crisis seems to be frozen in time right now. Sort of like everyone else, they decided they'd rather ignore what's happening and just enjoy the Olympic summer. I mean, almost everyone else in France seems to be enjoying it.
Well, some people are not.
You know how Olympics, every time, wherever they
Ah,
are, they have the same problems, which is that to make Olympics happen, you have to build facilities in places where people usually live. Amazingly enough, it's never where the rich people live.
that's
And
such a coincidence.
such a coincidence.
Yeah.
And they also spend money on things that might not be the most important on the grand scale of things, like one of your favorite things, cleaning up the Seine River, like getting rid of all the poop. Well,
The poop,
I
yes,
mean,
the poop.
overall, yeah, it's a good thing. Like it's gonna help the biodiversity, and it's just healthier to get rid of that pollution. But it was a very expensive endeavor. And in the meantime, there are entire regions in the French overseas territory that don't have drinkable water.
Hmm.
And so people have been questioning these priorities, and they've been prevented from talking to journalists, or they're restricted from visiting the center of Paris. And it's just been very,
Okay.
like, quite a crush on democracy, I think. So now France has been awarded the organization of the 2030 Winter Olympics. And I think we should pay very close attention to how we are treating those who disagree with Olympic plans. It's not right that normal descent is treated criminally just because it doesn't look good from the outside to have people like contest the Olympics. Like, I expect with climate change, snow cover is going to be a massive issue for the Winter Olympics, and making artificial snow uses tons of water. So you can expect very naturally that environmentalists will be challenging that. Are we going to be treating those challenges criminally? Well, from recent history, probably.
Hmm. That that will be very interesting. I guess you could Teflon coat the Alps. Like, isn't Tefal a French company?
No, we're going
Never
to
mind.
have a
Let's
PFAS
continue.
problem. That's another thing.
Well, I will all like go down in the valleys, and they're Swiss, right? Mostly. So, anyway, the current government. Let's talk about that. As we discussed, the current government is a caretaker government.
Yeah.
And these seem to be political choices. We talked about it before. Legally, things are very unclear. So, any update on whether it is within bounds? I guess.
I don't think it is, but we don't really have a precedent for it. But yeah, this government has been taking a lot of political decisions for a group of people supposed to only take care of regular business. So, for instance, in international affairs, there's been this week a change of position on the status of Western Sahara, and that is creating a lot of tension with Algeria, like to the point where I think they recalled their ambassador in Paris.
But Algeria did.
Yeah, Algeria did.
Did France have a reaction on that?
Well, no, they
Okay.
just, Macron's going like, oh my God, Olympics.
Okay.
It's his thing now. Oh, there's been a change in regulation of working time, for instance, giving a derogation for the collection of grapes for wine. So they made it legal to work for 2 weeks straight without a break, which makes it a lot easier for the winemakers, but is putting a lot of physical stress on the workers. And yeah, so they passed this decision, which is again a political one. And so this is creating a very bad situation because remember, this is a government that has 17 ministers, including the prime minister, who are members of the National Assembly, which is unconstitutional.
I've asked this before, but why is it not being stopped?
So first, and I know I keep coming back to them, but the Olympics are really distracting everyone right now.
It's the swimmer dude.
It's Léon Marchand. He can
Yes.
do anything. Also, there's just really not a proper enforcement mechanism for this. So the Conseil Constitutional Council in France doesn't have the breadth of power that an institution, for instance, like the US Supreme Court would have. So they don't stop it. What can stop it is what we call the motion de censure, which is a vote of no confidence in the government done by the National Assembly. But normally we don't do those against caretaker governments because they're on their way out anyway. So I think if Macron doesn't name a new prime minister almost immediately after the Olympics, the Bureau of the National Assembly should call an extraordinary session to censor the government because they have to stop this.
And you think they should, but do you think they will?
I'm not sure. But remember, 2 weeks ago, the Bureau of the National Assembly was put together, and it is a mostly left-wing one.
That's true. Yeah.
So they might do it. It's really
But
up to
because
them
of
to
the arrogance of the Macron party leaving too early,
yeah.
that this might bite them.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. But I think the clock is ticking and something has to give.
We'll see how it goes then, I guess. After Swim Dude wins a couple of more gold medals and
yeah,
I guess in 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, well, Léon is swimming in 15 minutes, so
Okay.
maybe it's time for us to close this.
Yes.
So that's all for this week. We'll see you next week with hopefully even more gold medals and maybe a prime minister. À la semaine prochaine!